Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I promise that I will be honest with you.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you have some opposition to swearing? Is that
Yes,
the
I do.
concern?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you affirm that you will be honest and tell the truth today?
I just told you that I would be, and I will be. I will be completely honest and transparent in regards to the matter of which we're here today.
Okay.
And my experience with this circumstance.
Okay. Great. And can you state your full name?
Jason Allen Spillars.
All right. How old are you, Mr. Spillars?
36.
All right. And you're wearing orange.
Yeah.
Are you in custody at this time?
Not in Cherokee County.
Okay. Do you have pending charges somewhere else?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And does it have anything to do with this case?
Absolutely not.
Okay. And the only reason I'm asking you that is, have we made any kind of deals with you or discussed your charges with you in any way?
Actually, you made it very clear that you're uninterested in the charges that I have because it has nothing to do with this.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm not going to ask you anything else about that.
Okay.
So I want to know how you know Benyamin Ben Michael.
I call him Z.
Okay.
And I call Chloe a Lexus driver Kawani. Those
All
are the
right.
names of which they were introduced to me as.
Okay.
So just to relieve confusion for the court and for the jury, these are the names that I still call these people by.
Okay.
So I just want to make that very clear so there's no confusion. And maybe I just want to make that very clear. So I met Z in April of 2020 through an associate. And we met because of an interest in trust law and using trusts to legally incorporate yourself to minimize risk of obstruction by the government, like in the forms of taxes and being able to hold your properties and assets in a trust and making them safer. And there's a whole lot to that. So, I mean, how much would you like for me to talk about that? That's just the nature of how I met him.
Okay, and that's great. And I'll just keep asking small questions till we get to all the information that we need.
Sure.
You said that you had the interest in the trust law, but how did you actually come to know him? How did you forge that connection? Did you meet him somewhere in particular?
What do you mean? Like
how did you come to know he exists?
Through Peggy Schindler.
Okay, so you met him through a mutual contact?
A mutual friend.
Okay.
Yes. I saw Peggy in Whole Foods.
Okay.
And she was telling me about the trust.
Okay.
But she perhaps doesn't have the vernacular or the capacity to explain it.
Mm-hmm.
And so Z does. So I spoke with Z, and and then Peggy gave me the trust, and I began a relationship with Z from there.
Okay. And you said that was April of 2020?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And so going forward for the rest of this questioning, I'm going to refer to Benyamin as Z.
That'd be great.
Okay,
yeah, to avoid confusion for everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Chloe will refer to as Kuwani?
Kuwani, yes.
That's how you
spell that, please.
Kuwani. Ku''Ani.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And is that how you were introduced to them?
Yes.
Okay. And is that how you knew them through the entirety of your relationship and still
Yes.
with them? Okay. So in April of 2020, when you met Z,
Yes.
Was that an in-person meeting when you first encountered him?
Yeah, it was.
Okay. And where physically were you?
In a park. We met in a park in South Asheville.
Okay. In North Carolina?
In North Carolina, yes.
Okay. Was he living there or staying there at that time?
Yeah, he was staying with Peggy.
Okay. And when you met him, did you become aware of his relationship status?
Yeah.
Okay. And what did you learn about his relationship status?
That he has 4 wives, actually.
Okay.
And that he practices polygamy.
Okay.
Is that the question? Is that the answer you were looking for?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Sure.
At that time, were you in a relationship?
Yes, I was.
And did you exercise any type of polygamy?
No.
Okay. And so when you initially met him, did you come to know his wives?
Not initially, but we did later. I believe I met Kawani briefly in May, but we really spent some time together in late May.
Okay.
When I went down to Florida to visit them with the girl that I was with at the time.
Okay. So you had a girlfriend at the time?
So I wouldn't call her my girlfriend, but
Okay.
she was living with me, and I mean, I guess you could say that I have always believed in plurality as well, that that men should have multiple women, but I was never in a committed. I was with Jen; she lived with me,
Okay.
and I took care of her. I provided her. She didn't work, so I provided her with food and shelter and safety and companionship and love, but it was never in our agreement that I wasn't allowed to see other women.
Okay.
So,
and as it relates to Z and his relationship, who were his wives that you came to know?
So their given names on their birth certificates would be Chloe Alexis Driver, Jessica Lee Caffigan, and Sarah Stiles.
Okay.
But those women will be referred to as Kawani and Anna, Gamiliana, and Sheilig, respectively, because those are their chosen Hebrew names.
Okay. Tell me about Jessica. You said, what did she go by as her chosen
Gamiliana.
name? Gamiliana?
Yes.
How do you spell that?
Gamiliana, I'm pretty sure. I'd have to look at it.
Okay.
Gamiliana, yes.
And you all called her Gami?
Gami or Anna, she prefers now.
Okay.
Because she says that people have a hard time pronouncing Gami and they question her, so she goes by Anna now.
Gami or Anna. Okay.
Yes.
And is that a decision that she made to change that from Gami to Anna?
Yes.
Okay. Because of
like I said, she says that when she introduces herself as Gami, people say, what? Got. And so she just goes by Anna now.
Okay. And then Sarah is the legal name.
Sheilig.
Sheilig?
Sheilig.
How do you spell it?
Sheilig. It's a Hebrew word.
Sheilig?
Sheilig. It's a
Okay.
Hebrew word. Yes.
All right. So, when did you meet Kawani, Gami, and Sheilig?
Like I was saying, I think I actually met Kawani and Gami in May before they left, like briefly at Peggy's house.
Before they left North Carolina?
They left North Carolina to go to Florida, but
Okay.
I can't remember. It seems like I did. So you're asking me, this is like 5 years ago almost. So, whether I met them before I went to Florida, I can't remember. It feels like I did, but that's kind of irrelevant because we went to Florida, Jennifer and I, this girl that I was with at the time.
Okay.
We went to Florida to visit them and stay with them.
All right. Do you know when that was that you went to Florida to visit and stay with Z? And
It was after Kawani's birthday, which is the 18th.
Okay. Tell me when Kawani's birthday is. 18th of what?
May.
Okay. So after May 18th of 2020, you and Michelle?
Jennifer.
Sorry, Jennifer.
Yes.
You and Jennifer went to Florida.
Yes, we did.
And did you stay with Z and Gami?
No, we stayed in our van.
You stayed in your van. Okay.
Yeah, but we spent all of our time with them though. Like they were staying in a motel at the time
Okay.
in Nokomis Beach.
Where?
Nokomis Beach,
Where's
Florida.
that?
It's by Venice. It's like south of Sarasota.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that when you first met them, they were in North Carolina, and then they went to Florida. That they were staying in hotels. For the duration of your relationship with them, was that routine for them to kind of move around or travel or stay in different places?
Yeah, they were moving around a lot at the time.
Okay.
From what I understood, but they had been in. I can't recall what they were doing before that, but they stayed in Florida and then they went to Connecticut and they would stay in different places for like months at a time. I know that they stayed in Florida for months. After we left Florida, they stayed there for at least another month, I think.
Okay.
And they would stay in one place, like a singular location for a few months, and then they would go to the next location wherever they decided to go. I know that Kawani and Z had been in Myrtle Beach together for a pretty extended amount of time in Virginia Beach. That's where they met Gamiliana. So they stayed in these places for extended periods of time.
Okay. So you're aware of Florida, North Carolina, Connecticut, Virginia.
Yes.
Anywhere else?
Gosh, I don't know.
Did they ever spend time in Tennessee?
I don't think any extended time. I don't know. I can't remember.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean,
All right.
So-
And so you indicated sometime in May of 2020 you went down to Florida and spent a lot of time with them?
yes.
Okay.
We spent a week down there.
A week?
Yeah, about
Was
a
that
week.
the first time you saw Benyamin with all three of the women?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yes.
And when you first met him and learned that he had three wives, sort of what was your thought process on that arrangement or situation?
I thought that was really interesting because, usually you only see that with like religious cults like Mormonism. Even though, scripturally, even, old Jewish and Christian tradition promotes plurality. Like it's promoted in scripture that men have multiple wives. Like it's written about all through the Bible. But you don't really see it that much anymore, perhaps in Mormonism only. And I had spoken with Z extensively about what was happening with his wives in this situation, and I found it pretty interesting because he was providing care, all of the things that a man is supposed to provide for a woman. Like I said, and it was kind of like something that I was interested in because, like I said with Jen, I provided Jen with food, a place to shelter. She didn't work. I provided her with companionship and love, and I listened to her, and I was affectionate towards her, even though I was never in a committed relationship. But it's like the value of having a wife is profound, like the value of having that intimacy that perhaps couldn't be achieved through a non-marital relationship. And so Z had basically taken what I found to be what I wanted in life was plurality, but also incorporating the deep intimacy of marriage with multiple women. And I thought that was highly interesting, and I was very curious to see how that played out and how that worked. And so was Jennifer. Honestly, she's like, whoa, like multiple wives, really? Wow, like, we like that's different. Like we should totally go hang out with him. So we did. So we
Okay.
went to Florida. Sorry, I'm gonna adjust myself.
You're fine.
My niece.
And you said you were kind of interested to see how it played out from
Or
May.
basically, like we're talking about like the social dynamic
Sure.
of a circumstance like that, which I think is really like where most people go with that. When they hear about polygamy, most individuals will question the social dynamic of such relationship, and how does that work? Like, what is the social dynamic between the women, and the social dynamic between the women and the women and the men? I mean, you can see these types of shows. There's shows on television now that promote polygamy and
Like Sister Wives?
like Sister Wives. Yeah, exactly. And so it's kind of like to see a firsthand perspective of that, of somebody who's really living like that. I thought was highly interesting. I was very interested in what these
Okay.
women had to say and what they were about.
Okay.
So was Jennifer.
Tell me, you said you're interested to hear what the women had to say and what they were
Well, yeah, I was just curious how they interacted with each other.
Okay.
So.
From May of 2020, when you said that you and Jennifer went to Florida and started spending time with them, how
That's
much
right.
time did you spend with Z and the three women from May until December of 2020?
Oh, well, there's a lot.
Okay.
I mean, so I went to go see them in May, and then I broke up with Jennifer. I broke it off with Jennifer over the summer, so she actually never saw them again.
Okay.
And then I stayed in Connecticut at Z's parents' house at the Joyce home in Connecticut in September for, I think I was there for about a little over 2 weeks.
Tell me about his parents. What do you know about them?
Oh, I love the Joyces. They're good. Mike Joyce is great. Is a good man. They're essentially Michelle Joyce is they're very powerful people. Like even they're like really intelligent. They're highly intelligent people, highly well spoken about their traditions and values, and they're very warm and open and welcoming folks. Like,
Are they, his biological parents, still married?
yes.
Do you know what they do for a living?
Michelle sells real estate, and Mike works at a factory,
Works at a factory?
like a machine shop.
Okay. So you said you went to Connecticut and you stayed at his parents' house?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And how much time did you spend at his parents' house?
Like I said, I was there for a little over 2 weeks, I think.
Okay. Was he there with the 3 women as well?
Kawani and Gamiliana were staying there, and Sheilig was there sometimes, but her parents also live in Connecticut, so she was at her parents' some too.
Okay, so Sheilig's parents are from Connecticut as well?
Yeah, they live it's like 45 minutes down the road in Southbury.
Okay, so Gami and Kawani and Z and you spent time at his parents' house.
We sure did.
While Sheilig spent time with her family?
Yeah, I was sleeping in my van. Again, I had a van
Okay.
that I stayed in.
Okay.
And so I was sleeping in the driveway in the van.
And was it, from your observations, was it common for these women to go spend time with their families outside of their relationship with Z?
I mean, if they wanted to.
Okay.
I don't think, I didn't really get the feeling that Kawani or Gamiliana were very, enthusiastic about going to spend time with their parents.
Okay.
And that they loved their husband and they stayed with him.
Okay. But Sheilig wanted to go see her family in Connecticut?
Yeah, I think it was just like a matter of convenience too, because they're all staying at the house, and Sheilig she went back and forth, so.
Did you ever meet the parents of Sheilig, Gami, or
I've met all these people.
Kawani?
I've met them all.
You met all of their parents?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Tell me the circumstances under which you went into their families' homes.
Let's see. I met Phil and Nancy Caffigan in October of 2020. I have actually stayed with Ben and Sharon Stiles at their home in Connecticut. I stayed there for the better part of a month.
That's Sheilig's parents?
That's Sheilig's parents, yes, I sure did. And I've met Eric and Renee Driver on several occasions. I met them for the first time in the summer of 2020. I met Kawani and Z and Eric and Renee Driver at a river in Tennessee, and we spent the day together.
Okay.
That was the first time I met them.
So Phil and Nancy Caffigan are
Jessica's parents.
Jessica or
Gamiliana's
parents.
Yeah, I knew that. We're going to try to avoid this confusion.
Where do they live?
They live in Virginia Beach.
In Virginia Beach. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you said that Sheilig's parents live in Connecticut.
Yes, they do in
And
Southbury.
do you know where Eric and Renee Driver, Kawani's parents, live?
In Knoxville, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I've never been to their house,
Okay.
so.
All right.
But I know that she's from Jacksonville originally, but
Okay.
I think they moved
Okay.
to Knoxville.
Okay. And do you know what the order of the women coming into this marriage was? Like
Yes.
who was first?
Yeah, it
Okay.
was Kawani first.
Okay. Do you
And
know
then-
how long she had been with Z? Like as of 2020 when you met him, how long they'd been together?
Gosh, I don't know the answer to that question. Years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who came next?
Jessica Gamiliana.
Okay. And how long had she been with him?
I think Kawani and Z had been together since she was right when she was 18, and then they met Gami a few months later.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know the answer to these questions
Okay.
exactly.
If you don't know, then
Yeah.
that's fine.
I'm
but
just
if you do know,
telling you what I think it is.
Okay.
It's kind of I haven't really considered that. I haven't, I'm sure I was told at some point, but golly,
and from your understanding, who was the last woman to kind of enter the picture?
Sheilig.
Sheilig.
Yes.
And when you met them, do you have any idea how long Sheilig had been in a relationship with Z?
I'm gonna guess 6 months or something like that.
Okay, so pretty recent.
Yeah, within the year. It had been within a year.
Okay. Do you still have a relationship with Z?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And do you know whether Sheilig and Gami are still with him?
Yes, they are.
They are. Okay.
They are very much still with him.
Okay. All right. So when we were talking about the social dynamic of polygamy and sort of your interest in that when you met Z,
Yes.
what did you observe about sort of his treatment of the women or their interaction and treatment toward him? Like, what was that from
I
your
observed a
perspective?
very beautiful, healthy relationship.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
All like they would wake up every morning and talk about feelings, which I thought was really cute.
Talk
And
about feedings?
feelings.
Oh, feelings, okay.
Like they would wake up every morning. They would be in the hotel, and Z would wake up with these girls, and they'd all wake up and sit around and talk about feelings.
Okay.
And how they felt that day and why they were feeling that way. And he would sit and be patient and kind and caring to them,
Okay.
and treat them the way a wife should be treated, with compassion and patience and love.
Okay.
And even Jennifer and I, we both observed this, I was actually a little surprised at the amount, like the absence of petty argument and jealousy, because you have to kind of expect that. That's what Jen said too. Like we were like, wow, this is really, like they really have a healthy thing here.
Mm-hmm.
That they're all interacting with each other. They all share the same type of value for humanness, that like there's a real value here that you don't see in a lot of individuals. Like most people act solely in self-interest, and that's not what you saw with these girls and their man. And it was really sweet, actually.
Okay.
Like Z was always he was being very kind to them, and they all got along. Like I didn't see, we stayed there for over a week in the van, and we didn't see any bickering, and we were with them all day, every day,
Okay.
like this whole time.
And that was the week
so-
you spent with him in Florida in May of 2020?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you left Florida, I asked you sort of the broad question of how much time you spent with them between May of 2020 and December of 2020.
Sure.
But after that week in May, when did you later spend chunks of time with them and where?
Well, like I said, I met up with Z and Kawani and her parents at a river in Tennessee.
Do you know when that was?
Gosh, sometime in the summer of 2020. I actually cannot remember exactly when that was.
Okay.
And then I stayed with Z. I stayed in his parents' driveway for a few weeks in September. Then I went back home, and then I came to Virginia Beach in the middle of October, and I stayed there for about 3 weeks with Z and Kawani, and Gamiliana too. Sarah Sheilig was in Connecticut at that time with her parents.
Okay, so in October, you spent 3 weeks in Virginia. Shaylee was with her parents.
That's right.
And Kuwani and Gami and you and Z were together in Virginia?
That's right.
Okay. I want to get signed back into this computer. I want to show you. May I approach the witness?
Yes.
Let me show you what's marked as State's Exhibit 84. Do you recognize who this person is?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's Gami.
Okay. Does this accurately reflect the person you know?
That
or you're
is
referring to
that
Gami?
is Jessica Caffigan Gamiliana, who prefers to be called Anna now, and I
Okay.
told her the name change has been a little difficult for me.
All right. Your Honor, this time I'm going to tender State's 84.
States 84 is admitted.
All right. So this is Gami.
That is Jessica Caffigan Gamiliana.
Okay. Do you know how old she is compared to Kuwani?
Jessica's birthday is June 3rd, 1988.
June 3rd, 1988.
That's right.
Okay. So she's older. And this is State's Exhibit 85. Do you know who this is?
Yeah, that's Sheilig. That's Sarah Stiles.
Okay.
Yes.
Your Honor, I would tender State's 85.
It's admitted.
How old is she?
Sheilig was born February the 8th, 1997.
February 8th, 1997. How do you know all these women's birthdays? Is that something that's
I have a
important?
partially photogenic memory.
Okay. Would that be information that you seek out about people that you care about, or that
No,
you?
I don't even try to remember.
Okay, you just remember it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the nature of my mind.
Are these two pictures the scene that you remember of December the 8th of 2020, being at that residence?
Oh my gosh, that is the inside of Jerry's house, isn't it? Wow. Yeah, I don't know the inside. I was gonna say, because I see the picture of Sheilig there, and I'm like, wow, that's really messy. Like, because they never kept a messy place, but Jerry does.
Okay.
So I see that there. That is the inside, because like you see all the dirt and like just like it's kind of nasty looking. I was just like, where was this picture taken? Like, because they do not keep an unclean house like that.
Okay.
But Jerry definitely does. Jerry's kind of a slob, self-admittedly, on his part. So I'm not trying to.
Okay.
He'll admit that.
All right. Tell me a little bit about that. You said they keep a clean environment. In terms of sort of the dynamics of the group when you were with them, did they have any viewpoints about like diet or like health in terms of?
Oh yes, very much. That's like a part of the way that they live, and it's part of the way that I live too.
Okay. And what were sort of were you all like-minded in that way?
Yes, very much. And that's one of the things that that I liked about Z immediately, was that the way that he cared for himself and the way that he cared for his women.
What do you mean by that?
First of all, like there's like a standard of purity. I've been on and off a vegetarian for most of my life. I met them, and they're vegans.
Okay.
They eat no processed sugar. They eat extremely healthy, like no vegan. And the reason why they don't eat animal products is because of the inhumane treatment of animals. So it's like it's viewed as like an innocent life. So you have an innocent life in this animal, and Z feels that we are not entitled to take that life. And that was actually something that I picked up from Z, because before I had just been a vegetarian for my own health purposes. But then he told me about his reasoning for veganism, and I agree with him. It's like one of the things that I met Z, and when I went down to visit them in Florida, I hadn't been a vegetarian for a very long time, like 2 years. It had been 2 years that I'd been on a meat eating diet, and I got back around them, and I was influenced in a positive way, I would say, by being around them and being around their health again. And so I immediately went back to vegetarianism, and I've been a vegetarian ever since.
Okay.
Back to my routine. And Jen did it with me too, for the remaining time that she was with me.
All right.
We immediately switched back to vegetarianism.
Was everybody, during the time you spent with him between May of 2020 and beyond, was everybody a strict vegan?
Yes.
Okay.
And they also used like no drugs or alcohol whatsoever.
Okay.
What
was the reason for that?
Because it's like toxic.
Okay.
And because it's like it dilutes your mind and your ability to process and be your most pure self. Yeah.
Were there any viewpoints surrounding like water, or what kind of water they could consume?
What do you mean?
Just did they have any rules about what water they drank?
I don't know that I can speak to that specifically. Okay. I mean, I know that, but I will say that reverse osmosis water, I know that Z drinks reverse osmosis water, and so do I. Okay. I've been filtering my water reverse osmosis for the past 20 years.
Okay.
Because, you'd like to get there's a lot of particulates in the water, especially, you get the water out of the sink, out of the tap here, it's full of chemicals, and fluoride and chlorine and things that are heavy metals that are unhealthy for your brain and body.
Okay.
That should really be avoided at all costs by everyone. But like I say, very few individuals take the time to care for themselves at this like level of impeccability. And so that's something that I respected about them very much, and attracted me to become closer and better friends with them.
Okay. From your perspective, was the observation of these practices something that was inherent in them, or something that required discipline from them?
No, definitely not. Like, Kawani was the one who was like giving me a hard time about eating meat when I was in. She's the one who's like, she's like, you just don't care about the animals, do you? And I'm like, she's like, maybe you're just an asshole. And I was like, maybe
She said maybe you were just an asshole?
Yeah.
Okay, and you're talking about
wanting the woman who's sitting right there.
Okay.
And I said, maybe I am, and maybe I should stop eating meat because of this reason, not for my own health purposes.
Okay.
Because of the taking of life and because, it's better to live that way. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, maybe you're right, young lady, I see where you're coming from. And so I actually went back to vegetarianism then.
Was she expressive in communicating about sort of her belief system of subscribing to these practices?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not like it was like forced.
Okay.
It's like, it's pretty logical, really.
Okay.
It makes sense. It's like, this is impeccability. This is taking care of yourself in the highest regard. This is eliminating toxic waste from your body. This is living a life that's clean and pure without drugs and alcohol of any type, including caffeine.
Okay.
No nicotine, no alcohol of any type. They don't drink at all.
Okay.
So it's like, it's really rare to find that level of commitment of care to yourself. And all of these girls were just on board with it. They were like, of course they are, because it makes sense and you feel better and you feel healthier and you're like, representing something that is separate from the regular world of toxicity and negligence to one's own well-being.
Okay. You mentioned that during I've used kind of December of 2020 as like a date just because of the incident that we're here for, but
yeah, we'll get there.
How long did you spend time with the group even beyond that date?
Oh gosh, I'm still friends with Z now. I was in Sheilig. I was in Sheilig's parents' house for a month in March of earlier this year.
Okay. So for the last 4 years, you've maintained constant communication and contact and friendship with them? Okay.
Most definitely. And we've all been very hurt by this, and we've, worked through this together and as the best we can.
All right. So you mentioned that they didn't consume any drugs or alcohol. Are you referring to sort of illicit drugs or just all drugs? What do you mean by the term drugs?
Anything that is psychotropic in nature.
Okay.
Anything that's like no pharmaceuticals, no alcohol, no drugs of any kind.
Okay.
What do you mean? What drugs are there?
I guess what I'm going to get into is sort of like modern medicine or treatment of ailments or like healing practices. Like, did they have sort of didn't adopt the traditional worldview of like the exercise of medicine?
Yeah, none of these girls really had very many ailments.
Okay.
So, I know, but you mean like ibuprofen?
Sure.
Definitely not.
Okay.
Yeah. I prescribe to these systems myself. Like, I don't take those kinds of drugs either.
All right. And was the whole group sort of like-minded in that way?
They're all for it, yeah.
Okay.
100%.
So were there sort of healing practices or things that you all did for your bodies that were not traditional?
I mean, like what?
Like drinking your own urine?
Sure.
Okay.
I've been drinking my urine daily for 4 years.
Okay. And can you tell me, like, obviously that's not traditional in a broad...
Well, it was in the past when people understood their bodies.
Okay.
Now we've become so deranged and deluded and essentially live in a psychotic society of mental illness and addiction to pharmaceuticals and alcohol and toxic food that we have become so diluted and separate from what it means to be healthy on the deepest and most fundamental cellular levels that we would describe an attempt to achieve homeostasis in the body. So urine therapy is non-traditional in today's modern terms of our deranged society, toxic society, but it's actually written about by medical doctors. It's written about by people all over the world. There's if you go online and look up urine therapy, there's like 15 books available written by allopathic medicine doctors, homeopathic medicine doctors, written by shamans and gurus from the East, written about by regular everyday people who have healed themselves, who claim to have healed themselves of things such as cancer by drinking their urine.
Okay.
And it tells all about, if you want to do your research, urine is from the word urine, meaning light. And basically it's like when you go to an oncologist and they take a urine sample instead of a blood sample, that's because the urine is more telling of the malfunctions in your body. And so allopathic, homeopathic, and people from all types of different natures write about the photonic realignment of your DNA through urine therapy. So urine has like discarded nutrients in it, but those nutrients have passed through your kidney and bladder and are now contained within urine, the light production of your body. And it needs to be understood, and this is just like very common programming in the world, that urine is waste, and it's literally an antiseptic. It's the opposite of waste. Your stool is your waste. Your urine is an antiseptic. It's a true sterilant, and it's antibacterial. That's why Boy Scouts 101, when you have an injury or you have a snake bite or a jellyfish sting or something like that, and you use your urine to sterilize and to act as an antiseptic and act as an antibacterial immediately on open wounds in the flesh. So you could think about this as like the same type of thing is happening inside of your body. We're talking about like antibacterial,
How long have you been engaging in that practice as like a...
Gosh,
do you consider it a healing practice or like a health routine?
Well, to me, it was a healing practice at first. And I would say that the first year, it took me probably like 6 months to a year. But actually, I would say maybe a little less than that. I think for some individuals, they would probably, that would be a healing practice for at least a year. But I was considerably healthier and more fit than the average individual.
Okay.
Like I said, I've been filtering my water, all the fluoride and chlorine out of my water for like 20 years since I was in high school.
Okay.
I started these practices very young. I just realized that, it's like, would you like to have toxic waste and heavy metals in your water, or should we filter these out? It doesn't really take a genius to figure this out. Like, we should be taking these steps to heal ourselves and and not only heal ourselves, but as a health practice. Mm-hmm. So I'd say like for the average individual, I think their first year of urine therapy would be more of like a healing, but I use it to maintain my body still to this day.
And did you start urine therapy practice before you met Z?
No, actually, but I didn't learn about it from Z. I learned about it from Peggy.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I started drinking my urine, and after about a month, Z never even mentioned that.
Okay.
But after I had been drinking my urine for about a month or something, I was like mentioning it to Z, and he's like, oh yeah. He's like, yeah, we do that too.
Okay.
So I actually know a couple dozen individuals who drink their urine regularly.
A couple dozen? Okay.
Yeah, sure do.
And as far as Z and Kuwani and Sheilig and Gami, did they all participate in urine therapy also?
As far as I know.
Okay. Did you ever know of anybody be forced to participate in that practice?
No, I didn't, actually. All the individuals that I've met, or it's kind of like one of those things that's like, oh, I didn't even know about that. Like I didn't know until Peggy told me. Mm-hmm. And then I started doing my research online, and it turns out there's a lot more people that do it than, like, there's this guy who I really respect online. His name's Troy Casey. He's the certified health nut. He's like an influencer on Instagram. And so he and like several other individuals, they really promote like urine therapy. They do it all the time. Okay. So it's like, it's a little more mainstream than, you would think. And unless you know about it, and then you hear about it, and it's like, oh, this is a lot more mainstream than I thought.
Mm-hmm. You already kind of just spoke about the sort of group's collective views on medicine, or traditional medicine.
Sure.
Were there any other types of healing practices to either like center themselves or strengthen their mind or their body that you were aware of?
Gosh, I personally use all kinds of, like, I use Rife machines. I've watched people have miraculous healings from Rife machines.
And what is that?
A Rife machine is a frequency generator developed by Royal Raymond Rife in the early 1930s at the University of San Diego, Southern California. And this man found that, and you can do your research on this, anybody who's interested. This man found that when exposed to that everything has a frequency and vibration, because that's the nature of reality. It's just an atomic structure. And so to understand the fundamentals of science, which we're all taught in school, but it just doesn't seem to sink in to a lot of people, that everything that we're experiencing right now, the air is mostly nitrogen and the matter's it's mostly carbon. So we have a atomic pixelated holograph reality, and these things have been written about from the 1927 Solvay Convention in physics and beyond, even to Michael Talbot and Carl Sagan, who write about the nature of reality. And so everything has a frequency and vibration, including illnesses inside of the body. And so this man, Royal Raymond Rife, was able to find that these illnesses, specifically tumors and things like MS and certain other illnesses, have a certain vibrational frequency. And when exposed to certain frequencies, now we're talking about particles and waves, which is another foundational cornerstone of the understanding of science, quantum physics, and reality. When you have the particulate matter of a tumor inside of your body, it may be exposed to the wavelengths of certain frequency vibrations, and it destroys tumors. I've watched some pretty miraculous healings. People being on their deathbed to walking around cancer-free.
Were those things that...
No, that's just me.
Okay.
I'm just introducing this to the world.
Okay.
Here, right now.
Let me ask you about, and I mean, I've got to just keep
But
it.
Z knows about frequency. Z knows about Rife machines too.
Okay.
So I'm just curious, like, which ones?
Let me ask a more direct question.
Yeah, please.
Are you aware of them using any type of sensory deprivation or dark therapy?
Dark therapy, yeah, from the teachings of Montauk Chia.
Okay. Can you
Absolutely.
tell me about that? Okay,
so I did dark therapy in September of 2020. I actually did it after I left Connecticut. I had like a small bungalow style house, and so I taped off the bedroom and the bathroom, and I blacked out all the windows, and I retreated into into a meditative place for 432 hours.
Okay. And was meditation or sensory deprivation or dark therapy, was that something that Z and the three women also subscribed to and participated in?
Z did dark therapy like 10 years ago.
Okay.
He did dark therapy, but at the time when I met them, none of the women had done dark therapy.
Okay.
Gamiliana was the first one to do it, and she did it for 2 weeks at my house in November of 2020.
Okay.
She was the only one to have done that at that point.
What brought about her doing that? Did she want to do that, or was she
Absolutely.
made to do that?
No, definitely not.
Okay, so
Z never made them do anything like that.
Okay.
I mean, it's like they volunteered because they're interested in the same type of achievement. I know Sheilig did the dark therapy for a very long time.
Okay.
She went into the dark for like 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah, and she's will speak highly of it, but she was seeking that. She was seeking. I mean, Z didn't say go be in the dark. It's like that's not the thing.
And in practice of dark therapy or sensory deprivation, do you come out of it whenever you feel ready, or is it something that like you're locked in even if you don't want to do it?
No. What you're asking is like a personal question about the individual who's embarking on their quest for enlightenment. So you're asking me to, speak to the nature of another individual's personal. I set a time. I was like, I'm going in for 432 hours, and when that time was up, I came out.
Okay. And from your observations of the rest of the group, was that personal to them? Did they make choices about whether they wanted to do it and how long they wanted to do it?
Sure.
Okay.
But it's also, it's like, as I was raised in my household, and I know that this culture and society in the modern world has deviated a long way from traditional practice, but my father is the head of my house growing up, not my mother.
Okay.
We lived in a house where my dad set a standard, and that's what we lived by. and my mom was a wife, that, lived, that, her dad, like, it's a patriarchal household,
So
and my mom was never oppressed, just like these girls were never oppressed.
So you subscribed in that way to more traditional gender roles?
Yeah, more
Okay.
traditional gender roles where the man is the head of the household.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
And Z is the head of his house.
Is that biblically based or what?
No, it's psychologically sound.
Okay.
It's like, men are better leaders. They're better decision makers. They can regulate their emotions in a way that women cannot. And they're just, they're better leaders.
Did you ever
So-
see that manifest itself in the mistreatment of
Absolutely not.
Sheilig, Gami?
I've already
or
told you
Kawani?
how sweet and kind he was to these women. But also at the same time, he sets a standard. If they wanted to go do drugs and alcohol, then leave. That was the thing. It's like they all lived this life with him by choice. This was not, you have to live. It's like, if you don't want to do this, if you don't want to live your life, and this is the way that I live my life now, and every woman that I've had in my life, in my entire life, has been this way, and the way that I live my life right now. When I'm free, again, which shouldn't be too long, I will be, and any women that come into my life now will live the way that I live. We will be clean vegans. We will not use drugs and alcohol in any way. You will be treated with care and respect and love and kindness and listened to. I will appreciate and respect your feelings, just as Z was doing with his wives, just
Okay.
as I've always done with the women in my life.
And
But when
if-
it comes to crucial decision making and setting the standard for the household, I am the head of the household.
Okay.
It's pretty simple.
And you said, if any of these women wanted to use drugs or alcohol, they could leave.
They could leave at any time.
Did you
Like,
ever have any perception that they were not free to leave?
Absolutely not.
Okay. All right. I want to talk to you about. Now, you said that you spent about 3 weeks in Virginia in October of 2020, and that was with Gami's parents.
October of 2020. No, we stayed in an Airbnb in
An
Virginia
Airbnb
Beach.
in
Yeah,
Virginia.
That's
Okay.
right.
What was the reason for that location?
Oh, it's where Gami's from.
Okay.
And it's a beautiful area.
Okay.
So,
And then after October of 2020, when you spent 3 weeks with them there, what time did you spend with them after October?
gosh, we were together pretty much all the time from
Okay.
that point on.
How did you all spend your days? Did you all work, or what was the dynamic?
I worked some, at that time. I have a background in personal fitness training,
Okay.
yoga instruction, private yoga instruction, and I'm not a certified nutritionist, but I offer my opinion on nutrition and health, and I work privately in these areas, and like I say, all of my financial partakings and everything is private through my trust.
Okay.
So.
And what about Z and the 3 women? How would you all spend your day to day? What would you do during the day?
Gosh, most of this time from October 4th was caring for Kawani, honestly, and trying to help her find her way back to a place of sanity. Right? I mean, we use these terms, insane.
Mm-hmm.
I know that these have psychological terms, and I know that these have legal terms,
Mm-hmm.
and so I don't mean to in my own ignorance to what is happening here, I may need you to educate me on which words are acceptable to use and which words are not. And, but I would say at this point in time, most of the time that we spent together was, trying to help, to assist and do correct by Kawani, to try to help her with the mental health, the severe mental health issues that she was suffering from.
Okay. So tell me in terms of timeline, you said that in October of 2020, that you spent 3 weeks in Virginia.
Yes.
And then where did y'all go after you left Virginia?
Back to Asheville, North Carolina.
And why Asheville?
That's where I lived. That's where Peggy lives. And it's another beautiful area.
Okay. And Where did you all stay in Asheville?
I let them stay at my house
Okay, so
in Candler,
all right.
41 Oakdale.
Okay.
And I let them stay there, and I stayed either in my van in the driveway, or at my parents'.
Okay.
Back and forth. I also stayed with my sister a little bit, but I didn't mind to open up my home to them at all. I let them stay there.
We've talked a lot about the three women and Z. During the entire time you knew them, was Hannah a part of that?
Yeah, she was there. She was there all the time. She was always around. There was never any point in time where Nimsi, as I will refer to her, there was never a point in time where Nimsi wasn't around.
Was Nimsi her Hebrew name that was
Yes.
given? Okay. May I approach the witness?
Do you recognize what's depicted in States 86?
Yeah, that's her.
Okay. Is this the child that you spent time around?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna publish States 86. And you said that she was always around.
Yeah, she was.
How did they manage the care of Nimsi? Was everybody involved in that, or was it?
I would say it was more predominantly Kawani,
Okay.
but the other girls definitely were there to support, and C definitely was there to support.
Okay, we have tissues there if you need them.
Yeah.
So, all these periods of time where you talked about weeks at a time spending with him and the women, was Nimsi a part of that too?
100%.
Okay.
That's my little friend right there. We grew a pretty significant bond together.
Okay. What do you mean by that? What was your relationship with her like?
I mean, she was like I say, she was my friend. She would always wave and smile at me, and she would come to me and allow me to hold her, and she wasn't always like that with everyone.
Okay.
We were definitely, I was definitely pretty close with that baby, and all of the individuals in the group recognized that particularly the baby would go to me. But a lot of babies are like that. I'm like that with a lot of babies.
Okay.
I come from a large family. My dad has 5 siblings and my mother has 4. They all have children. All my aunts and uncles have children, except my dad's oldest brother. And so I'm the oldest on my mom's side. I have 11 cousins, and some of those cousins have kids now, and I've held dozens of babies and been around, family, and I've spent a lot of time. I've held a lot of babies, and interacted with a lot of babies, and she was a really bright light and a special child, and we got along. She was. I cared deeply, as I still do, obviously.
All right.